This webinar is for those employees who have service prior to July 2011. So if you've ever worked in the past for, say, a URS covered agency such as a city, county, the state, school districts, etc., even if you worked, let's say, in the 80s or 90s for a couple years and then you left employment, came back after 2011, you would still be in the Tier 1 system, because once you're in a tier, you're always in a tier. If this is the first time you've ever worked for a state government agency after July 2011, you'd actually want to attend one of our Tier 2 webinars. And if you want to sign up for one of those, you can do so on the URS webinar page, just like you signed up for today's. But again, this session is geared towards those who are in the Tier 1 system. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have questions, you'll notice that there is a Q&A section. You can type your question in there. Your question will only be seen by myself. One of my colleagues here this morning also is Jeff Draper. He's going to help me answer those. We do have quite a few of you here, so if we get a lot of questions from you, be patient. We will answer them as quickly as we can. We can only type so fast. We only have 10 fingers, so be patient with us. And if you haven't already, we would also encourage you to download a copy of the handouts. You can see there at the right side of your screen, we have a couple files there listed for you, the pension basics and the investment options. We'll be referring to those pretty heavily throughout the presentation. So again, if you haven't downloaded those already, please do so. And then lastly, we will have a couple polling questions that we'll ask throughout the webinar. These are just sort of like survey questions. We're just looking for your input, your thoughts on these. All responses are anonymous, so the good news is you won't be graded like you were in school, so no worries there. So please answer those as you have opportunity. With that, let me introduce today's speaker. Today's speaker is Corey Cox. Corey has been in the financial services industry almost 2 decades now. He's worked a couple years here at Utah Retirement Systems, here in the Retirement Education Department. He has a master's degree already. He has one. He's actually working on a second. So Corey has a pretty good understanding of what's going on in the retirement benefit world, particularly here in Utah. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Corey. Welcome, Corey. Give us a test. Make sure your microphone's working, and we'll get going.
Hey, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that great introduction there. So welcome everybody to the webinar. We're going to be talking about the Tier 1 benefits. And I just wanted to start off a little bit to kind of gauge who we have here in our audience today. If I can just have you fill out this poll question here. How many years of service do you currently have in the Utah retirement system? Just kind of see. Oh, good. We have a pretty good mix, it looks like, in our audience. So good. All right. Good. So we've got about most of you. We got a really good mix, actually. Pretty clear across the board. So appreciate you filling that out. We'd just like to kind of get that information, just to kind of understand who our audience is and who we may need to be looking at, or how we need to address some of your questions. So one of the first questions I actually like to ask, and this is for everybody, because I think this is something that is important to really think about to help visualize where you're going to be in retirement. And it also helps you to kind of plan for your retirement and be able to get the questions you need answered in order to ensure that you have what you need in retirement. So one of the things I like to ask is, what is your retirement goal? And so I'm going to actually pull over here another poll question really quickly. What would you like to be doing in retirement? What do you most want to do? Okay, so we've got a good mix. We like travel, spending time with family, volunteering. Some of you even want to continue working. That's great. So we really have different interests that we want to accomplish in retirement. And that's one of the big things that I think is important to understand, is that we all have different goals. But to be able to make this possible, to either spend time or travel or volunteer, even part-time work or something like that in retirement, we need to come up with our finances to be able to make that happen. And some of the things we need to be able to understand to really put that money to work is, what age are we going to retire? How old are we going to be when we do retire? Are we going to work? Um, what is our home situation going to be? Are we going to try and downsize our home, maybe move into a condo or an apartment and sell our house? Or are we going to stay in the same house? Is our house going to be paid off? Those are different things that we need to be looking at, because the bottom line is what we're trying to achieve here is a standard of living. Are we going to be in a higher standard of living in retirement? Maybe a lower standard of living because we don't have as much saved? Or are we going to be able to maintain our standard of living that we left when we were working? So those are things that you want to be thinking about and trying to visualize even when you're young. So those are things that we want to be looking at or as we plan for our retirement and understand how we can make retirement happen. One of the big things that we have one of the things that we have in the retirement world to kind of help us understand where our retirement income is going to come from, so that we can replace that income in retirement, and also be able to keep that standard of living, is this three-legged stool of retirement. And as you as you plan for your retirement, one of the great things of being a public employee here in the state of Utah is that you do have a pension, and especially with this Tier 1 retirement benefit. And that is one of the three legs of the retirement world. And we're pretty lucky here in the state to be able to have that, as many places are actually losing their pension benefits. And so this is a great benefit for you to be able to have. You also want to be looking at your Social Security income. Many of the public employers here in the state of Utah do participate in Social Security. Some do not. If you have questions about that, I encourage you to talk to your HR folks at your office. But most of you will have access to Social Security. And we're not going to be talking a lot about this today, but if you do have questions, you can go to their website at ssa.gov, and you can check out the information about Social Security there. And we will be touching also upon individual savings plans today. URS does offer several different individual savings plan options, such as a 401k. And this is often where your voluntary contributions come into play, and to help supplement your income in retirement as well. So we're going to be talking about mainly the pension and the individual savings plans. So I just want to throw over another poll question really quickly here. I want to ask, what is a pension? If you could just sit, is it an individual retirement savings plan? Is it a lifetime monthly benefit based on your years of service? Is it a lump sum payment, or is it a craving for Jell-O? I hope we have some good. We've at least got one person that's kind of got a sense of humor, a jokester. Okay, that is good. All right. Well, thank you for filling that out. I appreciate that. So a pension is actually a lifetime monthly benefit based on your years of service and your average salary. And here at URS, we actually use a formula that's pretty simple to help you kind of figure out how much you're gonna have coming from your pension. And what we do is we actually take the number of years of service that you have in the retirement system. Notice there are some people here in our audience that are very close to retirement, that have over 25 years of service, and that's awesome. What we do is we take those number of years of service and we multiply that by 2%. And then we multiply that by your final average salary, which is the average of your highest 3 years' salary throughout your career that's reported to URS. So it doesn't have to be your last three. Often it is, but it doesn't have to be your last three to come up with that final average salary. So, and that's how you come up with the annual benefit. So, for example, and now this is just an example, if you worked 30 years, say for Salt Lake County or or the state of Utah or one of the other cities here in Utah, we would multiply those years of service by 2%, and that's how we would get the 60% amount. That 60% is then multiplied by the final average salary. In this case, we used an example of $40,000 on average for those highest 3 years. So $40,000 per year, and that comes out to be $24,000 a year in benefit, which is $2,000 a month. Now that is the maximum benefit that you would earn in your pension. So we will actually talk a little bit more about that amount and how that can change a little bit, but this is the basic formula that you need to understand to be able to kind of figure out how much you're going to be receiving in your pension on a monthly basis in retirement. A couple of qualifications that you need to understand to come up with your, or to know when you can qualify for a benefit. I like to point out 3 different things. First of all, age 65 with at least 4 years of service. Now 4 years is significant because that's when you become vested or you gain ownership of that pension benefit. At the age of 65, that's kind of what the state legislature said is going to be our normal retirement age here in the state of Utah. And you can retire at the age of 65 with at least 4 years of service. Another one that many of you may already be familiar with also is that you can actually retire at any age with at least 30 years of service. So, just to kind of throw this out there, if I had 20 years of service and I was 67 years old, some people wonder if they can actually retire or they qualify for retirement. In this case, the answer is yes, you could, and you would not have any reduction in your benefit. You'd multiply 20 years times 2%, so you get 40% of your final average salary. But if I have 30 years of service or more, I can retire at any age. I could be 55 years old. Maybe I started my career early at 25, and I worked 30 years for the state of Utah. I could actually retire at the age of 55 without any reduction to the benefit. Now there are some additional qualifications that are available to you, but there is that little asterisk next to the other 3 qualifications. At age 62 with at least 10 years of service, age 60 with 20, and any age with at least 25 years of service. And what we do there is we actually reduce it by about 3% per year under the age, between the ages of 60 and 65. And if you're under the age of 60, it's reduced by 7% per year. So if I decided I had, let's say, 25 years and I was age 59, I would actually get a 15% reduction between the ages of 60 and 65 and a 7% reduction for that final year from 59 to 60. So it can be costly. So really you want to pay attention to the any age with at least 30 years and age 65 with 4 years because there are no reductions in the benefit at that point in time. Now there are a couple of workarounds with that. So you do have the access to actually purchase service credit. You can purchase service credit if you have 25 years of service or you are the age of 65. You can purchase up to 5 years worth of service credit. And to be able to figure out how much that would cost, it does cost some money. Just make sure you're sitting down when you do it because you may pass out. Just kidding. It is a little bit expensive. But you can actually purchase those years of service, and you can go online to our at urs.org and pull up a calculator to see how much that would cost. Now, if you, let's say, don't have 25 years of service, but you were active full-time U.S. military, or had some federal employment, or maybe worked at a private school or a Utah charter school, or maybe forfeited other public service outside of the state of Utah, you could also purchase eligible service credits through that, as many years as you would like. And you can do that at any time. Also, if you worked prior to 1987 and you were in the contributory retirement system, many individuals may have left at that point, prior to that point, and cashed out their contributory balance because they were able to do that at that point in time. If you do that, you can actually reinstate that refunded service credit at a cost. Basically, what we do is we estimate how much investment growth you would have earned during that point, that time frame, and estimate the cost that way. But if you have questions about that, you can always call our office, our retirement department here at URS, and they'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the purchasing the service credit, or you can ask Mike or Jeff here that are answering any of the questions up in the Q&A box. So what is your service credit look like? What is your pension going to look like? One of the things I like to do is I like to point people to our website. We have some great calculators on our website that can help you figure this out. So if you go to urs.org, you can go to our calculators tab there and click on the Retirement Benefit Estimate Calculator. And what it'll do is it'll ask you some questions that you'll need to fill out, like what system you're in, how many years of service credit you have, when do you plan on retiring, questions, and your current salary, and questions like that will help us kind of help you figure out how much your defined benefit will be, your pension will be. And as you can see, with the $40,000 average income with 30 years of service, like we showed you earlier, option 1, which is the maximum benefit, you would earn $2,000 per month. Now this is the screen that there's a screen that's similar to this that pulls up once you've filled out that calculator, and it'll give you 6 different options, which is a lot of different options to choose from. As you can see, there are different amounts based on that $2,000 amount. And what we do is we offer some options. When you go to fill out your paperwork to retire, you can actually choose to leave either a beneficiary or a spouse your pension benefit after you pass away. So that's what these other benefit options are, is they allow for a benefit to come to you. So, or you can leave a benefit to a beneficiary or a spouse. So that's what option 2 is that you can actually leave a benefit if you have a contributory balance. You can leave a benefit to any beneficiary that you select. So option 2 basically gives that remaining contributory account balance that hasn't been used to that beneficiary. So that $1,900, as you can see, is a little bit reduced from the $2,000 per month, and we reduce that based on that. Now, most of you are not going to have a contributory balance. That was if you had years of service prior to 1987, like I mentioned, because we are in a non-contributory system, so we don't require employee contributions to the pension plan. But prior to 1987, they did, and so those individuals have a possibility of having that contributory balance. Now, options 3 through 6 are our spousal benefit options, and these options will pay your spouse, the spouse at the time of retirement after your death, but it does, again, decrease your monthly benefit. So options 3 and 5, if you were to pass away as the member, you would be eligible for either that 1769 if you earned $2,000 in your monthly benefit, so it is, like I said, a reduced benefit, or the 1747 in this example. If you were to pass away, your spouse would continue receiving that pension check for the remainder of their life. Options 4 and 6, we would cut that in half. And so there's not a severe reduction in the benefit, as you can see, but they would receive half of your pension check upon your death. Options 5 and 6 work a little differently than options 3 and 4. After you pass away, regardless of whether or not your spouse has passed away, so if your spouse were to pass away before you, options 3 and 4, you still remain with that benefit, the 1,769 in this example, or the 1,877. If you were to pick either option 5 or option 6, one of the benefits to that is if your spouse passes away before you do, instead of remaining at that same benefit amount, we will kick you up to option 1. So you would, after your spouse passes away and you continue living, for the remainder of your life, you would receive the maximum monthly benefit available to you. So that's how that works. Now we also, actually I wanted to ask really quickly another question, if I could. What option do you think you will select when you retire based on just this basic information? Okay, so we got a good mix. A lot of you like option 1, which is the maximum benefit. And a lot of you actually like option 5. So yeah, option 5 is a good benefit, especially if you're about the same age as your spouse, or maybe you're a lot younger than your spouse, or maybe your spouse has some health issues. Option 5 can be a good option for you. So good, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and let's go ahead and talk now about one of the other options that's available to you. You can actually participate in what's called our partial lump sum option. Now, this partial lump sum option is a one-time payment that's equal to 12 months of your pension payments or 24 months of your pension payments. And you can actually take that, when you go to retire, you can actually request that you get a partial lump sum option. However, if you do this, you would receive a monthly benefit that is permanently reduced, much like the spousal options that are available to you. So, if you were to select one of the partial lump sum payouts, what this partial lump sum payout would do, in the example that we gave earlier with the $40,000 average income, 30 years of service, this individual would receive $24,000 per year or $2,000 per month. If you were to select the partial lump sum 12 or the 12-month partial lump sum option, you would receive $24,000 in a lump sum after you retired. And we would send that to you, and then we would also begin your monthly paychecks, your monthly pension checks. Or you could select the 24-month option, and in this example it would be $48,000 that you would receive, and then you would get the reduced monthly paycheck. And as you can see in this chart here, if you were to take the 12-month lump sum, in this example it does reduce it a little bit more than if you were to just take the basic monthly benefit without that partial lump sum. So this just isn't an option available to you. It's not for everybody. But again, if you do run the calculator on our website, it does give you some different options available to you with the partial lump sum included on that. So one of the questions I do like to ask in regards to this is your pension going to be enough? Is it going to be able to sustain you? Now, for many of you, if you're taking that maximum benefit option and you work 30 years, that's 60% of what you were earning while you were working. And most people probably couldn't live on 60% of their income, but that's one of the things you need to consider here. Some of you will have Social Security available to you, which will help make up some of that. In addition to your pension, will help make up some of that retirement income. However, what it comes down to here is that you will need to look at individual savings plans to help supplement your income. And many of you may already have individual savings plans, and maybe your employer is contributing to those individual savings plans for you, to a 401k on your behalf. Maybe you're voluntarily contributing some of your own income to an individual savings plan, which would be great. I want to just show you an example of a few individuals that may have saved some money over the years. Now, some of you may have gotten a little bit of a late start in saving. Some of you may have started the day you were hired in your career, and you've saved ever since. And I wanted to kind of show you some of the benefits to really putting some savings away. Now, being that most of you have or all of you do have a pension available to you, you may not have to contribute 15% of your salary, but this just serves as an example to kind of help you see how much money you may need, how much you can save with just saving a little bit of your salary on an annual basis. So Julie, here in this example, she's in the red. She invested 15% of her salary. She started out $30,000 a year, received a 2% salary increase each year, and she began investing that money right away in her 401k, earning 6.5% investment growth on or return on her investments. Throughout that 40-year period, she was able to save $282,000. But that's about almost, well, it more than tripled over her career because of compound interest and the time value of money. She ended up with over $1 million in her 401k by doing that. Sally, on the other hand, she got a little bit later start. She wanted to have children, maybe, or maybe she started her career in the private sector. They didn't have a 401k opportunity available for her. And so as soon as she started working for the state or whatever, she started saving her money and putting that away at the age of 35. She was able to do that over a 30-year period, so 35 to 65 when she decided to retire. Same basic same basic things, that assumptions that were assumed here. But she earned $232,000, or she saved $232,000, and about tripled her investment there. So she was able to earn that income, or earn that amount into her 401k. Joe, on the other hand, he started at the same time Julie did, but he was really risk averse in his investment choosings or choices. He only earned 2.5% on his investments, so he really saved very conservatively, and as such was only able to earn about $450,000 in his 401k, despite the fact that he saved $282,000. Linda, she got a really late start. She stayed home, raised her kids, and then went back to work. And she ended up really understanding that she needed to save a little bit more to make up for her late start. And so over that 20-year period, she was able to save 20% of her salary, which equaled about $230,000, earning 6.5%, and was able to make up quite a bit over that 20-year period. But you can see the time value of money and how it compounds over time. It's kind of like a snowball if you think about it. Savings really are difficult to see at the beginning of a career, but as you are able to save, that those savings compound, and you really see some rapid growth throughout the end of your career to really make a difference. Now, again, some of you may have got a little bit late start. We're not saying you have to save 15%. You do have a pension available to you that helps make up a great portion of that. But it is something that you want to really be considering throughout your career and really making a difference in your savings. So we really encourage you to save. And at URS, we actually do have 4 different retirement savings plan vehicles. We have a 401k that's available to you, a 457 plan, an IRA, and a Roth IRA. Each of these work a little differently for you and may be beneficial for you. Over maybe a 401k may be more beneficial for you rather than the Roth IRA, or vice versa, or maybe both would work really well for you. But I want to just kind of briefly go over each one of these plans to kind of help highlight what some of the differences are and maybe help you understand what may be the best option for you to save, or where you should save your money in retirement. So first of all, I just want to highlight the 401k and the 457 plan. Each of these plans are both tax-deferred plans, and they must be you must defer your money into these plans through payroll deduction. So it's an offering that's available to you to be able to allow you to save in retirement. Now, they both work very similarly. A 401k is available in the private sector. It's available here in Utah at URS. You may have worked somewhere else and had a 401k available to you. Now, a 457 plan is only available to government employees. It's IRS code basically stipulated that this is available to government employees. And like I said, they work very similarly, but there are some minor nuances that may be more beneficial for you to participate in because of the withdrawal regulations that are in place on each of those plans and how they impact your taxes. So being tax deferred, you don't pay taxes on those contributions now. However, when you do start withdrawing that money, you will be taxed on that. And you can withdraw a 401k at the age of 59 and a half, or if you were to retire, in the calendar year you turn 55. You will not receive any penalties. So you are eligible to withdraw that money out of your 401k at that time. However, if you were to start withdrawing that money prior to the age of 59 and a half, or if you do not retire in that calendar year of 55, you can see a penalty, a 10% early withdrawal penalty attached to your taxes when you do go to file those. With a 457 plan, one of the great benefits of that is that if you were to withdraw that money, let's say you leave your employer, the agency you're working for, you could actually withdraw that money at any age. You could be 45 years old and not see any impact to your taxes there other than what you're going to be paying because you withdrew some of that money. However, if you do continue working, one of the benefits of a 401k is you can actually withdraw that at the age of 59 and a half while you're working. However, with a 457 plan, if you do continue working, you cannot withdraw that money until you're at age 70 and a half if you're still employed. And so that is something to just keep in mind with those two plans. A traditional IRA, we don't necessarily see a lot of participation with our traditional IRA, mainly because we do have the 401k and 457s available, but a lot of people will transfer money or roll money into the traditional IRA, but a traditional IRA is available to you and may be beneficial to you. It is tax deductible, and so if you're maxing out a 401k and a 457, you can actually contribute a little more into a traditional IRA, and it can be beneficial to you. Some of the rules are very similar to a 401k. You can't withdraw that money until you're age 59 and a half. However, there are some exceptions if you were to purchase a first home, or you wanted to pay for some college, that you were going back to school and wanted to pay for some college, you could do that as well. I really personally like the Roth IRA, and this is something that I think a lot of public employees should pay attention to, just simply because most public employees, we're in lower tax brackets. We don't make a ton of money. It is something that is available to you. But the deposits or the contributions that are made on a Roth IRA are actually made after you've paid your taxes. And so one of the benefits to the Roth IRA is that when you do go to withdraw this money in retirement, you withdraw that tax-free. And so in all the growth, the earnings that you've earned on that can also be tax-free. Again, you do have to be age 59 and a half to be eligible to withdraw that. But any contributions that you make on the earnings, that you can withdraw those earnings after the age of 59 and a half. But any contributions you make to the Roth IRA are not taxed because you've already paid those taxes on it. So some people like to use this as an emergency fund, for example, just so they can stash that money away and have it available for some emergencies. The only caveat is you just have to have the account open for 5 years or more before you can start making withdrawals on that. So just something to be aware of. Now, another thing to be aware of on that is that, again, any earnings that you earn on the Roth IRA are going to be tax-free. You're not going to have to pay taxes on the growth on that Roth IRA account. Okay, so I just wanted to pull over another poll really quickly just to kind of get your insight. What savings plan option appeals most to you? Some of these may feel a little differently than others, but just wanted to kind of get a feel for where you're at there. Okay, so we have a lot in the Roth IRA, a lot in the 401k. Those are both good options. Both depending on your income level and your tax bracket can make a difference to be putting into a 401k, or if you have lots of tax deductions such as a mortgage, or maybe you have some dependents, some children still at home, a Roth IRA makes a lot of sense that way because you're not going to be paying taxes typically if you are in a lower tax bracket. So good. That's good to know. I just wanted to kind of see what some of the feelings are in here. Now, a couple of things you want to be aware of also, and I know a lot of you probably don't make a ton of money, so you may not be able to reach that annual contribution limit, but for a 401k and a 457 plan, you can actually contribute up to $18,000 into each of those accounts. If you have both of those accounts open, because you can have multiple accounts, you can have a 401k, a 457 open, and a Roth IRA, for example. You can have all three accounts. You could contribute up to $18,000 into both your 401k and your 457 plan. And in addition to that, if you wanted to, you could contribute up to $5,500 into your Roth IRA. There are some catch-up provisions that allow for you to contribute a little more. If you are over the age of 50, you can contribute $24,000 into your 401k and 457 plan, or into $6,500 into a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. Now recognize those little asterisks there, noting the traditional IRA and Roth IRA. The traditional IRA and Roth IRA, those contribution limits are tied to one another. So in total, if you had a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA open, you could only contribute in total $5,500 into both accounts. So I could have, say, $2,000 contributed into my traditional IRA and $3,500 into my Roth IRA. It's across all those accounts. So if you have any outside IRAs, you also have to be aware of those rules because those contribution limits do apply to those. Okay. So how do you invest the money that you put into these accounts? Now, URS, we do actually offer several different investment options. And I like to kind of compare this to Salsa. You may have heard Mike, our retirement guru, seen his videos about that here at URS. But I like to compare it to Salsa. And I hope we have some hungry people here because I want to kind of talk a little bit about Salsa here. Now, Salsa, as you know, has several different ingredients. It has tomatoes, avocados, sometimes. Depends on the recipe. You might have onions, peppers, cilantro, lime juice, some different things that make up a good mix of ingredients to make it nice and tasty, right? Let me just ask you, I want you to think here for a second. Would you grab a bag of chips and a bowl of diced tomatoes? Or maybe a bag of chips and a bowl of diced jalapenos? I know for me that would probably not be very good for my heartburn if I were to do that. But I love taking a bag of chips and dipping it into a good bowl of salsa that has a good mix of all those ingredients. And that's kind of what we try and encourage our members to do, is look at all the different investment options that are available to you and mix and match those. So we have over here on the left-hand side the income fund and the bond fund. Those are very conservative investments. Those are our tomatoes and our avocados, or maybe corn. Some people I know like corn in their salsa. Kind of our sweeter investments are more bland investments. They don't investment options. They consist of bonds and different things that are very low risk. They're very conservative investments. And as you can see, down at the bottom of the page there, over the last 15 years, they really haven't grown a lot, but they haven't lost any money either. And so those are some really less risky investments, but they allow you to help grow your money. They're not going to grow it fast by any means, but they will grow your money. It's kind of like Joe in the example I gave before. If you were to put all your investments in this tomato and avocado, for example, you wouldn't make a lot of money. You'd probably end up with about 2.5% growth, or maybe even less. So just something to be aware of. On the right-hand side of this page here is our small cap stock fund, our international fund, our large cap stock growth fund. These are a little more risky investments. And as you can see in 2008 on that, they lost a lot of money. However, in 2009 and 2013, 2014, there were some really good growth years as well. You can see that they grew considerably during those years, and that's what we like to see is some good growth, obviously, in our investments. But if you were to put it all, say, for example, in the international fund, over that 15-year period, you wouldn't have gotten some very good growth because of some of the risks that are involved with those investments. The global markets haven't done as well over the last several years, but you go a lot further back, and they did awesome. There was some really good growth during those years, and so just some riskier investments you have to consider, and that's what I mean by those jalapenos and the cilantro, those spicier investments. You have to be aware that you may suffer some heartburn if you were to just put your investments in those, or put your money in those investments. So one of the things that we actually encourage you to do is mix and match these core investment options, diversify your investments, and make sure that you have some good investment choices. Our balanced fund, for example, over there on the left-hand page, is a mix of our core some of our investment options here, our large cap funds, as well as some of our bond funds as well, and it mixes those so that there is some good diversity. And you can actually choose how to invest those. And that's one of the great things about that. Now, if you're still not so sure about how to invest that money, one of the great things that we do offer here at URS is we do have some off-the-shelf salsa, if you will. And you can actually buy that salsa already pre-mixed for you. What we do is we actually take 7 of our 8 core investment options and add in a few additional investment options for you to provide a good mix based on when you're going to start withdrawing that money. So what we have here is several different target dates of 2060, 2055, 2030, 2015. And as you can see, they're all treated a little differently. Our target date 2015, for example, is very conservative. As you can see, it's very heavily invested in the bonds and got a little bit in stocks and real assets. Whereas our 2055 fund, for example, is heavily invested in the stocks and very little in bonds. It has some in real assets as well. And what you do to choose which target date fund to participate in is you can choose the date closest to when you're going to start withdrawing that money. So for example, if I'm going to start withdrawing that money in the year 2037, because I've got another 20 years before I can retire, I would probably choose either the 2035 fund or the 2040 fund, depending on where I'm looking at. If I'm a moderate investor or maybe a more aggressive investor, might go a little further out. Or maybe I'm more conservative, I'd probably go a little closer to 2030 or 2035. But basically what you do here is as you get closer to that date, we slide you over to some more conservative investments. As you can see in this chart here, you can see how if I started out at 2040, as 2040 approaches, I would get closer to looking more and more like the 2020 fund or the 2025 fund as the year 2040 approaches. As you get closer to that date, what we do is we automatically will reinvest you in some different assets and try and help make sure that you're being a little more conservative the closer you get to retirement. So this is just kind of a chart that kind of helps show you how these target date funds work. So we will do this work for you with the target date funds to kind of make sure that you're investing that based on when you're going to be pulling that money out. So one of the quick questions I want to ask you is, does a target date fund mean that my individual retirement account will be fully funded by the target date? Just to kind of make sure you understand what a target date fund does. Okay, so we got looks like most of you have false as your answer. We got a couple saying true. All right. Good. I'll just give you a minute to answer that. All right. So the answer actually is false. So a target date fund is basically an investment tool. It doesn't mean that you're going to be fully funded by the time you retire. What it means is that it's just a way for you to invest your money, and as you get closer to retirement, it will move into more conservative investing, a more conservative investment portfolio. When you have a long time before retirement, it's going to be a lot more aggressive because you have time to make up for losses. Also, you want to make sure you're building up those funds, and in those good years, you want to get those good investment returns. And so that's what the target date fund means. It's just basically an investment tool for you to be able to invest your money in. Very good. So how much is good for you to save? You can kind of figure that out on your own. Based on your current balance, how much you might need in retirement. You can go to, in addition to your pension, you can go to urs.org there and go to the calculators tab again. And there in the middle of the page, you'll see the URS savings plans option there with the savings plans future values calculator. And there you can estimate how much you will have in your 401k, your Roth IRA, all of your individual savings plans. You can combine those. So for example, here is a snapshot of that page. You put in your current balances, your wages, your current monthly wages, your annual increases in wage as well, what you anticipate receiving in salary increases, your monthly contributions, your employer contributions, perhaps future years, how many years you're going to have until that you can contribute, the rate of return you expect to receive, and how long you expect to receive those withdrawals. So what we're asking in that case is, what is your life expectancy going to be after you retire? How many years are you going to live after retirement? And based on this calculation, all this information, we can actually calculate approximately how much you can receive in a monthly amount to add to your pension there. What I like to do is compare it to what I'm making currently. So for example, if I'm making $40,000 a year, that's a $3,333 a month that I'd be receiving. Let's say I pick option 3 with the pension. So you receive, I would receive $1,773. If I had what I just showed you with the individual savings plans on a monthly basis, if I were to receive $533 plus, if I go out on the Social Security website, I could calculate approximately how much I'd receive in Social Security as well. If I added that all up, I could come up with a total and kind of see if I'm on the right track or not. If there's a major discrepancy, I probably need to do something different, either work more years or maybe look at saving a little more or doing something different to be able to help me remain on track to be able to retire. In this case, this individual looks like he's pretty close to being on track. There's only a difference of $77 per month. I would think in this case, this individual probably would be able to live on $77 per month less, and so this is just kind of an example to give you. Now, that's one of the questions I want to ask you here. Are you on track? Is this something that you can do, or is this helpful for you to kind of see whether or not you are on track based on your pension, maybe your individual savings, or maybe you just don't know? If you're not on track, what kind of adjustments can you make? Again, are you going to have to maybe work some additional years, or maybe look at some additional saving on your own, or maybe doing some different things that can help you make sure you get on track if you're not. For those of you that don't know, one of the great things is that we do offer some options there that I'll talk about in a minute. But those of you that are on track, great, that's awesome. I'm excited to hear that. Looks like 50 or so of you are on track to meeting your goals, and it's good that you are, because we want to be able to accomplish those goals in retirement. So one of the things you can do, I just want to kind of show you a couple things on our website. I hope you've already been on our website, but if you haven't, if you go to your login there and select the member login, this page will pop up. So if you need to save some additional money, you can go over on the left-hand side and see how much you've currently got in savings through URS. You can enroll in maybe the Roth IRA. You don't have a Roth IRA right now and you want to open up a Roth IRA, you can do that, or maybe a 457 plan. You can access your plans here to see maybe you want to change your savings plan options or your investment options. You can do that by accessing that. On this page also, you can see on the right-hand side how many years of service we have on record. And so you want to go in and check that on occasion to see if your years of service match up to what you say or you think you have. In addition, if you want to save more money, you can go on the left-hand side. You can access your account, say with your 401k. You select contribution deferral. You can select a percentage or a dollar amount. We often suggest a percentage just because it does change the amount based on pay increases when those do happen. Also, just below that on the left-hand side in the menu item is the investment of future contributions, and that's where you can make changes to either diversify your portfolio a little bit, maybe participate in one of the target date funds. you can choose how you want to invest your money that way. Um, Also, one of the great benefits, if you haven't already heard or taken advantage of this, is the um, individual retirement planning sessions. We have some awesome retirement planning advisors that are available to you to help you plan for your pension or your retirement. We'll sit down one-on-one with you, answer any questions you have. Maybe you have a question as which payout options going to be best for you. Where do you want to be? We can help you get there, basically, and help you be able to plan and help you visualize, like I asked at the beginning, help you visualize that you're doing those things, traveling or maybe volunteering or maybe providing service in your community or spending time with your family. Those are all the things that we're able to offer. To be able to access that, again, log into your account, go over there to the Education tab in the top right-hand corner, and on the left-hand side will come up a menu that says Individual Retirement Planning Sessions. You can select. On the right-hand side will come up a location, date, and time. We're providing planning sessions here at our office, downtown Salt Lake, on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. You can try and select those times. Now, I will note this. These times do fill up fast. So just maybe at the beginning of every week, you want to take a look and see if there are some available times available to you. So that's just one thing you want to be able to be aware of. We will help you. It's free of charge to all URS members. Now, with that being said, I appreciate the time that we've been able to spend together today talking about your retirement benefits. I hope your questions have been answered. And with that being said, Mike, do you want to take the mic?
Thank you very much, Corey. We appreciate that. We will be around for just a little bit longer if you have some of those additional questions. Otherwise, we are done for today. Again, as Corey mentioned, if you have additional questions, go ahead, head over to the URS website. We have a lot of information there. You can also reach out to us by phone. We've got phone numbers there for our pension department, 401k department, etc. So thanks again for attending, and have a great